what are the 5 things we need to insert in writing the scope and delimitation? Okay, you can go back, trace back your lecture if you have your lecture. Tapos wala pa lang lecture, no? Yes, Jaime?
The 5 things that we need to insert on our scope and the limitations are general purpose of the study, target respondents or the participants, the sample size, the geographic location or the setting, and last is duration or timeline.
Thank you so much. So, I'm expecting for one answer. Pero, in-all in na ni Jaime. Thank you for that. Yes, class. So, on this part, on this note, we'll be focusing only on the target respondents or participants plus the sample size for us to be able to discuss the one of the components of the chapter 2, which is the respondents and sampling. So class, we also provided sample for in writing the scope and delimitation. This is the first one. We're in, it's so obvious, it's so very evident. The 5 parts, okay, of the things we need to include in writing the scope and delimitation. And we also have another example wherein, okay, it is written in a concise manner, but okay, the the parts that should be seen on the scope and delimitation is also evident here. Okay, all right. So with that, we can now focus on how to select your respondents through the discussion of respondents and sampling. So class, when we're dealing about sampling, okay, we need to include the following, just like, okay, in writing the scope and delimitation, we also have some important um, inputs that we need to include in writing the respondents of the study. So, meron tayong 4. The first one, we have the general location. Okay, it can be a region, province, or municipality. But class, like what I've told you before, do not disclose the specific or the exact name of the company, the organization, or even the name of the school. Why? May I know? I want to hear it from you, class. Why do we need to not disclose, okay, the actual name of this organization, company, or even school? Yes, Arjun.
Ma'am, for ano po, yung confidentiality po at saka yung privacy.
Exactly. Remember that, class. Okay? Do not PM me or when binalik ko yung paper ninyo. Okay? And I commented na, why did you input the exact name of this school, particular school? Okay, alam nyo na nun, ha? Okay, do not disclose the exact or the specific name of such organization or school. Okay? So next, we have the population and the sampling technique to be used. Okay, and the reason why you decided to use that sampling. And the last one is the table for the distribution and the profile of your respondents. Okay, so with that, I have here an example because the best way to discuss something is to provide an example. Okay, so class, we have here a sample, okay, respondents of the study. Okay, so kindly identify the general location. Okay, pabilis ang magbasa dito. Identify the general location for the conduction of the data gathering and the sample respondents of the study. Bilis ng mata. Yes, Vince, Jonathan.
Ma'am, yung respondents po, grade 12 STEM
Oh, wait,
students,
wait.
yung,
Okay, sige.
yung
Ilalahat mo na to,
geographic
Vince, ha?
location po yung Catholic schools in Malolos, Bulacan po.
Okay. Akala ko lalahatin na ni Vince eh. So, si Vince, dalawa yung sinagot niya. At least now, kinategorize niya. Yes, our general location is what do you call this? Malolos, Bulacan, specifically, one of the Catholic schools in Malolos, Bulacan. Safe pa rin, still general. Okay, kasi wala naman din-disclose na name, okay, particular school. And yung population na Vince, sinabi na ni Vince yung population, which are the 6 sections from grade 12 STEM. Grade 12 STEM. Okay. So, my next question will be, how about the sampling technique used in this, plus the reason? Okay, dinalawa kasi ni Vince eh. Dadalawin ko na rin. Okay? What sampling technique being utilized here and the reason why the researchers decided to use that sampling? Mom, wait, we're just still looking for the reasoning. Uh-huh. Identify the sampling technique being used plus the reason behind using that sampling technique. Si Vince ulit. Oh, sige. Let's hear Pam's answer. Yes, Pam?
Ma'am, yung technique pong ginamit is justified sampling po, which is ginamit po para po distinct and equal number of students who are under the STEM strat. Para pong equal po yung number ng student na ginamit para pag surveyan.
Okay. So, in all fairness kay Pam, she does just simply read the reason, but also provided her own translation or interpretation on that reason. Yes, class. Exactly. So, class, on the latter paragraphs, dun sa second paragraph, dinisclose the definition of the stratified sampling. And then on the latter part, the last part, the third paragraph, well justified why the STEM students functions, okay, the target respondents of the researchers. Okay, so time will come, probably next time we'll be writing also your own respondents of the study. And for the last part class, last part of this, we have the table. Okay, so here class, this table functions as the, what do you call this? Profile or how the respondents being distributed. Okay, class, some of you might say, Ma'am Kong, we're not yet done with the data gathering. We don't know yet for how many are the males, the females, their age bracket, and so on and so forth. Yes, class, I do understand. Okay, just stay nyo lang to na as is blank siya. But upon conduction, you're done with the data gathering, you need to input the exact figures, the exact numbers. Okay? So, wala na magpapanik. Ma'am, we cannot yet submit our chapter 2 because we don't now have the exact numbers, the figures. It's okay. Okay? Madedetermine nyo pa lang naman yan once you're done with the data gathering. Okay? Leave this as is, as blank. Alright. Clear? Are we good, class? Okay, let's proceed. Nag-assume na good na. Okay. So, class, I have a question for you. And I know that you have disclosed this when you were in grade 11, but I still want to hear the answer from your section. Why there is a need to get the sample size upon data gathering, and why we should not gather data from the entire population to have a very reliable findings of the study. So now, what is the essence, the relevance of having a sample size? What is the need, okay, for us to have the sample size and not just to simply gather data from the entire population? So in that case, we can have a very reliable findings. Have you ever asked that before? Why do we need to use different sampling techniques if we can have data gathering for the entire population? Sige, Arjun, you need to answer this in a very Miss Universe answer. Okay. Charot. Okay.
Ma'am, kasi po if we're going to use the whole population, I think it will be time consuming po. Unlike po if we're going to use just a sample size of the population, since valid pa rin naman po yung research natin kung sample size lang po, since part pa rin naman po siya ng population. Yun po.
Exactly. Class, the research itself is a tedious job, a tedious task. Don't make it more complicated by just simply having a data gathering with the entire population, because the sample size class can represent the entire population. Remember that. And the major reason for that is, Arjun is correct, less stress, less finance, less effort. Okay? All right. So, okay, let's move. So if we're going to have an illustration, so this is the entire population and we have the sample size. And this sample size class can represent, okay, the entire population. So in speaking of, okay, population and sampling class, we have two sampling methods. And I'm sure also na you ever heard this before, the probability sampling and the non-probability sampling. Hindi ko kayo tatanungin what's the definition, okay? Pero summarize ko siya. When you were in grade 11, you learned that the probability sampling is being used, okay? Okay, wherein the entire population has the equal chance to be, okay, selected as respondents of the study, okay? And which is the exact opposite of the non-probability sampling. But you know what, class? There is a deeper, okay, message between probability and non-probability sampling. Probability sampling class is it's being utilized, being used if you are conducting a quantitative study. Remember that. That is why later on we'll be focusing more on the probability sampling. And if you're conducting a qualitative study, okay, you are much, okay, be using the non-probability sampling. Okay, all right. So, speaking of probability sampling, dun tayo magpo-focus first. Okay. So, under probability sampling, we have the simple, systematic, cluster, and stratified. And then under non-probability sampling, we have the convenience, voluntary plus quota class. Mas masarap i-discuss si voluntary non-probability sampling if i-connect din natin siya with quota sampling later on. And then the purposive and the snowball sampling. Okay? Alright. So, focus muna tayo on the probability sampling. So the first one, class, is the simple random. Kindly read the definition of the simple random. You just have to read. Okay. Yes, I want to hear Miel Joshua's voice. Yes, Miel.
Simple random. Each sample of the same size has an equal chance of being selected fishbowl. The acting number is computed using Slovane's formula.
As simple as that. To have a clearer explanation on this, class, let's have an example. Let's assume that the entire population, your target population, are the STEM students, grade 12 STEM students. Okay, and then the population is 1,000. So using the fishbowl method, diba? All the names were input on that fishbowl, and then pipili lang. Okay, they have equal chances to be your respondents. But the question there is, ilan? Out of 1,000, ilan? So you will be using the Slovane's formula. And my gosh, you are very aware on this. I know. Kasi yesterday we had the computation. Ang bilis sila mag-compute. Okay? So we have a formula here. Probably because you're stranded STEM, you're very much into computation. Tama ba ako? Or assuming lang si Ma'am Kang. So we have here the formula wherein the small letter n, okay, stands for the number of samples. and the capital letter N for the total population, which is already given, is always given. And then letter E, it's up to your class, okay, what margin of error you'll be using, if it's either 0.05 or 0.02. Okay, so we have here the formula for slopings. So now we have a problem here, pero mamaya pa yun. So in computing class, okay, your sample size using this formula sloping, we need to disclose first which, okay, level of confidence we'll be utilizing. So let's be uniform class, ha. Dalawa lang ang pwedeng pagpilian between 0.05 and 0.02. No more and no less. Don't ask me, ma'am, can we have the confidence level of 0.025, 0.25, 0.50 plus? Laki ng bawas yun sa level of confidence. Okay? So for the confidence level of 95%, our alpha level is 0.05. Paano nangyari yun? So simple mathematics, 100% minus 95% equals 5%, and we need to, okay, compute this, convert this into decimal. So it's 0.05. Same procedure with the 98% level of confidence. 0.02 is the alpha level. So class, baka may magtatanong, Ma'am, why can't we just have 100% confidence level? Natanong ko yun dati sa sarili ko, why don't we just have the 100% confidence level? Okay, and then our professor stated that even when you purchase an alcohol, diba, 99.99% of bacteria lang yung pwedeng mapatay. Nasa yung 0.01%. And even if you purchase a bar soap at kung ano na pang super expensive and extravagant, well-signatured na brand ng soap, diba, wala naman 100%. The reason behind that, class, in research, there is always an error, there is always an outliers, and we need to accept that. Kasi kung wala yan, 100% na yung confidence level niyan, there is no need to conduct a research anymore. Kasi nga, perfect na pala, absolute correct na pala. Okay? Alright. So, okay, pagpipilian lang upon using confidence level, class, 95% or 98%. So now let's have a problem. It's a battle of groupings. So our first problem, class. Okay, we have 1,000 city government employees. And our margin of error is 0.05. Now, compute for the sample size of this. So you have 1 minute. Ma'am, grabe naman 1 minute to answer this using our formula. Again, our population is 1,000 and our margin of error is 0.05. Now, class, identify the sample size on this problem. You can unmute your microphone or chat your answer using our chat box. Meron na agad, Arjun. May calculator ka ba sa tabi mo? What is your answer, Arjun?
Try lang po. 285.71.
185.71. So Arjun's answer is 285.71. How about the others? Second emotion, or you have different answer? Okay, same answer with Arjun. 286 for Enrico. Okay. How about the others? 285.71. Same answer with Liana, with same answer with Arjun. Okay. All right. So are we good? Same answer according to Jean Claude. Same answer with Arjun or with William? Or with Enrico's answer? Okay, Arjun. Okay, thank you so much. 286 din si Gia. Okay, thank you so much, class. I am going to disclose the answer for this. The answer, class, Arjun and Enrico's are both correct. Okay, all right. So class, using the formula, ito yung naging given. Okay, our N is 285.71. So Arjun is correct on that part. However, class, remember that our respondents here are tao, ha? We cannot chop them into pieces para magawa natin yung 0.71, ha? Kasi ganyan yung sagot kahapon. How are we going to have a respondent of 0.71? Ma'am, tanggalin po yung braso, kaya yung binte. Okay, thank you so much for your wonderful answer. So, magra-round off tayo. So, it is 286. So, both are correct. Kung sino man po tagapag-record, both are acceptable. So, we just have to round it off. Okay? All right. So, next problem natin, class. We have 7,000 senior high school students and our level of confidence is 5% or 0.05. So now identify the sample size if we have 7,000 population. Okay, we have another minute for this. 7,000 senior high school students. Okay, yes, Arjun, your answer?
378 po.
378. Okay. How about Jean Claude? Jean? Same answer with Arjun.
Same answer po. Yes po, ma'am.
378. How about Gia?
379 po.
379. Okay, it's a battle between 378 and 379. Okay, no more answer. 378 also for Liana. Para tayo nag-auction dito, no? No more answers. 378 also for Joshalyn and even Anna Marie. So, no more follow-ups. Okay. 378 also for Stephen. Feeling ko maraming magagalit kapag ni-reveal ko yung sagot. So, class, this is the answer for this problem. Okay, so we have 378.37 and we need to round it off 379. Okay, I know I'm expecting, Mom, no. Based on what we have learned when we were in younger grade levels, okay, 378.37 should be 378 if you're going to round it off. Okay, yes, I understand. Okay, so class, but let me share this technique of us in the field of research. Whenever we are conducting using the Sloven's formula, tumungtong lang yan ng 0.1 something. Okay? Automatically, kinakauntan namin as 1. Because we have reason. It's better to eliminate, diminish, answers, responses from our respondents than to look for another responses. Okay? But, mathematically speaking, class, the answer can be either 378 or 379. Okay? Mathematically speaking, you are correct. But in the field of research, tumungtong lang yan ng 0.1. We considered is plus 1 na agad. Okay? Alright. Huwag niyo kong awayin na. Practice lang naman talaga namin. Okay? Si Arjun kasi lumataas yung kilay. Arjun, hindi naman ako nakipag-away. Okay? Next part. Ang arte naman daw mo kakairit. Okay, class. Okay. In case, class, in case that on your first draft of your research paper, okay, you utilize the simple random sampling using the Sloven's formula. But unfortunately, okay, in case-to-case basis to class, in case lang naman na your intended, your target sample size is 278. Kaya lang naubos na, umabot na sa deadline, and you ended up with 200 responses. Anong gagawin natin kapag ganun yung nangyari? Are you going to PM, Mom, let me have a bargain. Instead of having 278, can we have 200 or 150? 100, ma'am, last bargain. No, class. Hindi pwede. Hindi pwede. Kasi yun ang lumabas, using the formula. Okay, Sloven's formula. So you need to stick on the result. But class, you can alter naman your sampling technique. Okay? probably sa second draft. Okay, third draft. Okay lang naman. Ma'am, hindi po ba yung counted as manipulation? No. Manipulation class is when you alter the answers of your respondents. Ang tawag sa gagawin natin is controlling. Para kang nagsiset ng plan B. Okay ba? So instead of having the simple random sampling, pwede kayong mag-move to systematic sampling. Okay? Ano ba yung premise? What is the premise of the systematic sampling class? It is like, what do you call this? A simple random, pero si researcher na yung nagsiset what will be the actual size of the sample. Let's have this example class. So here, the population is 100. Okay? The population is 100. So the researchers already decided to have 20 respondents. Siya na agad yung nagdeklara, kailangan ko lang 20. So para maging systematic siya, on this part class, we'll be using this formula. Capital letter N, which signals the entire population over N. Okay? Yun yung provided na sample size na gusto ng researcher. And the result will be the sequence or the arrangement of how are you going to select or choose your respondents. Okay? So in this case, class, okay, 100 over 20 is equals to 5. So, meaning to say, you can randomly approach each fifth customer or respondent, okay, on your study. Plus, wala naman kayong choice eh. You will be utilizing the Google Forms at mag-generate yun ng result. So, in case na your expected number of respondents are 278, but you ended up with 200, okay, pwede ka nang mag-systematic sampling. Use this formula. So, kailangan ko na lang pala, ma'am, is 100. E di 100 over 200 over 100 is equals to 2. E di every second dun sa responses, yun na yung magiging respondents. That is systematic sampling. In case-to-case basis in class, if we didn't achieve the random sampling. Okay, so now we have my favorite. Yes, I love discussing the difference between stratified and cluster sampling. But I want to hear from your section class if you can differentiate these two sampling techniques, because most of the time, okay, majority of the students tend to interchangeably the concept, the idea of the stratified and the cluster sampling. Okay, sige nga. Or you can provide your own example because it's the best way na to explain something. Kindly differentiate the concept of stratified and the cluster sampling. Yes, Liana?
Ma'am, sa pagkakaintindi ko po, ang stratified po, for example po, sa amin pong STEM ngayon, meron po tayong hanggang 14 sections example po. Sa stratified ko na, yung naka-divide na po kami by section po. Then sa stratified po, dun po sa bawat section, kukuha po ng sample po. Then bawat section po, meron pong parang representative po. Then sa cluster naman po, ganun pa rin po, naka-by section po kami, di ba po? Then, ang kukunin po, halimbawa po, STEM 1 lang po or STEM 2, ganun po.
Yes. Ang ganda ng explanation nun yan. Yes, you are correct with your example. And para linawin ko lang paano nag-answer ni Liana, which actually the same example as mine. Okay, gamitin natin yung STEM as the population of our study kasi ngayon yung pinakamalapit sa atin because you're studying STEM. Okay, so we have 14 sections in STEM. Okay, cluster sampling, if you selected 7 sections among those 4 sections, that is cluster sampling. And it will become stratified sampling, okay, if every section from STEM 1 down to STEM 14, pipili ka with 5. Ika 5 sila. That is stratified. So meaning to say, class, in stratified sampling, there is a group within a group. Ganun siya. Unlike a cluster, group lang. Selection of group. Okay? All right. So, with that class, proceed na tayo with the non-probability sampling. By the way, if you're going to have illustration with the four probability samplings we have here, the simple random, the systematic, the stratified, and the cluster. Okay. Through this illustration, we can simply differentiate these four from one another. So now, let's proceed to the non-probability sampling. Class, a while back, I told you that the non-probability sampling is ideal to be utilized if you're conducting a qualitative study. But even though you are conducting a quantitative study, you can also use this. Okay, pwede rin naman siyang gamitin. There's no absolute rulings naman eh. It's a matter of how are you going to expound, to reason out on your research paper. Okay, so first we have the convenience sampling from the base pair, from the root word itself, for the sake of the convenience of the researcher. Probably malapit sa puso niya, malapit sa bahay nila, kamag-anak, kilala, and everything. As long as it could be the source of the reason na magiging convenient siya for the researcher's part. And now we have the voluntary response sampling plus the quota sampling. Plus, it doesn't mean it's voluntary. Pwede nang sumagot kahit sino may gusto. You need to set your criteria, your boundaries. Diba? Example natin, students. Kung lahat ng estudyante, go ahead. Diba? But if you want to set your criteria, your boundaries to STEM students alone, pwede. So, pwede magsagot lahat ng STEM students. In voluntary response sampling, you need to set your boundary. And ilan ang kailangan mo? You need to set your quota number. Okay? Alright. And then, ito proceed tayo dito. I love discussing this one because it's a very, favorite ko to whenever I use qualitative and quantitative study. Combination kasi ako palagi. Okay, we have here the purposive sampling. Plus, I do understand, if you are very into your research paper because you are very interested what will be the outcome of your study, even though you already had your simple random for your expected respondents. And halimbawa, ang study mo about mental health, ang target respondents mo students, nakuha mo siya, na-achieve mo yung actual number, and then you need to seek more answer. You can look for your experts, professionals that can share their perspective, why you ended up with that kind of findings. And that's purposive sampling. Kasi purposely, okay, you look for expert professionals or people who are into your study, fit to your study to provide answers. You might well use purposive sampling. Combination kasi ako palagi. Okay? Alright. Ideal din si purposive sampling class if you're conducting a case study. Kasi pinili mo na agad-agad who will be your respondents or participants in your study. And the next one, we have the snowball. I don't know, class, kung na-experience nyo na to, I've encountered this on social media, specifically on Facebook. Okay? Merong mga college students, actually kahit na senior high school, may nakikita na ako eh. Magle-layout sila using yung mga formats sa Canva. And then may font na ubod ng laki, looking for respondents. And then dun sa bottom part, naka-indicate na lang what will be the criteria. Para to set the boundaries will be the ideal for the conduction of the data gathering. And then meron pa silang mga pakulo, okay, GCash or raffle. So yung purpose kasi naman to gather more responses. Diba? Diskarte yan ng malupit to, no? Ayun. That is considered as snowball. Ma'am, paano ba yung concept ng snowball? Example, ako yung researcher and then si Jaime, friend ko siya. Jaime, sagutin mo nga itong questionnaire ko. Ngayon si Jaime, meron din siyang set of friends. Si Arjun, si Miel, si Pam. So si Pam, meron din silang set of friends. Papasagutin din nila yung questionnaire. So that is snowball, lumalaki ng lumalaki. Same din siya dun sa concept sa Facebook. Probably, si Miel, si Jaime, shinare niya yun. And then si Jaime, may mga set of friends pa siya. Shinare din yung questionnaire na yun. That is considered as snowball. Lumalaki ng lumalaki. Pero you need to disclose also kung ilan lang yung kailangan mo. Baka buong Pilipinas sumagot na, di ba? So that is the non-probability sampling. So questions, clarifications. sana I help you on how are you going to select, filter out, limit your respondents, because you'll be needing to answer this group task, and the deadline will also be on December 20. Okay, you need to specify who are your target respondents, what sampling technique will you use, and why did you choose this sampling. Nawalan ng internet si Alex. Don't worry, pakisabi kay Alex, recorded ang discussion, pwede na itong balikan any moment. Okay? So, class, this is not part of the chapter 1. Separate tong ipapasa, separate sheet. Hintay na lang to be posted on our Google Classroom.